With Messi and Ronaldo getting older, football fans are wondering who is going to step up and be the next best player in the world. Well, I think we found him. What's up guys, it's Gio, and since the beginning of football, there have always been footballers who rise among the rest of his fellow peers. Footballers that aren't just the best in the world, but of their generation. Every generation always had that guy. The 70s had Cruyff, the 80s had Maradona, the 90s had Ronaldo, the 2000s had Zidane, and the 2010s we had both Messi and Ronaldo. With the decade beginning, we are set to have our next generational player. A player that shines above the rest of his peers. A player that everyone in unanimous agreement can say dominated the decade. I'm talking about the Frenchman Kylian Mbappe. Now, throughout the past few seasons, we have seen Mbappe develop and grow into one of the best players in the world. We have seen him do things that almost no footballers his age were doing. You see, at the rate and consistency that he has been playing, Mbappe doesn't just have the potential to be the best player of his era. He has the potential to be the best player of all time. His quality and potential is undeniable by some of football's high-profile names, with Gigi Buffon, one of, if not the greatest goalkeeper of all time, saying, "If he maintains the desire to be number one, to be a great champion, and humility to work to improve, he will have an incredible career ahead of him." And by incredible, I mean one of the best in history. Another form of acknowledgement came from the Belgian superstar Eden Hazard, who said, "In a few years, he will certainly be the best player in the world." This title, there are a lot of players who fight for it, but if he continues like this, Kylian will be one of the greatest footballers in the history of the world. Yeah, high praise from two of the best players of the 21st century. But is Mbappe really that good? Well, if you've seen his stats and what he's done, it's not hard to see why. In fact, his goal scoring record is astonishing, being unparalleled by most footballers his age, including Messi or Ronaldo. To avoid confusion, all of these stats are when they are 20 years old and below. All of the goals are counted up until their 21st birthday, their 21st birthday being the cutoff date. So if the player scores on the day of their 21st birthday, it will not be counted because the player is no longer 20 years old or younger. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get right into it. Domestic play. In domestic cups and league games, Mbappe has scored an outstanding 81 goals by his 21st birthday, while Messi has managed 31 goals and Ronaldo with 26 goals to his name. Okay, let's pause right there. I know what you guys are thinking. Before everyone starts commenting, but Mbappe plays in the easier league, Farmers League. He couldn't do it in the Prem. This is where things start getting interesting. The Champions League, the biggest club tournament in the world, where all of the best clubs and players face off to see who is the best. Regardless of your league or club, this is where players can prove their quality against the best teams all around Europe. And for Mbappe, this was the place that showed he can perform outside of France. Here's a chart I made showing players with the most UEFA Champions League goals before their 21st birthday. At the bottom we have Fabregas and Ricken, and if you make your way up, you see names like Henry and Messi. The teenage Erling Haaland is also up there with 10 goals to his name. And right up top you see Karim Benzema. Wait, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, that's right. On the top of the list we have Mbappe with 19 goals. A huge gap that it's hard to believe that he really has that much. I mean, second place Benzema is closer to 10th place Fabregas and Ricken than he is to Mbappe. At 18 years and 350 days, Mbappe became the youngest player to score 10 Champions League goals. And at 20 years and 306 days, Mbappe broke Messi's record of youngest player to reach 15 Champions League goals, by 18 days short of an entire year younger. And you might think that he scored most of these goals against smaller teams as opposed to teams that are more so favorites to win it. But again, you would be wrong. 10 out of 19 goals, or just over half of teams Mbappe has scored against, have been nothing short of a challenge. He has 2 goals versus Manchester City, 2 goals versus Dortmund, 1 goal versus Juve, 1 goal versus Bayern Munich, 1 goal versus Liverpool, 1 goal versus Real Madrid, and 1 goal versus Manchester United. Yeah, big teams. Huh. With both domestic and European success under his belt, there is one thing missing: international performance. Mbappe, as we all know, won the World Cup as a vital asset in the French team. Being named the World Cup's best young player as France defeated Croatia in the World Cup final, Mbappe has shown that he can perform on the world's biggest stage. At the age of 19, Mbappe is one of only 3 teenagers to appear in a World Cup final and even manage to score, something that has never been done before since Pele. With brilliant performances with the France national team, Mbappe has even managed to have a better goal-to-game ratio than Messi and Ronaldo's all-time World Cup ratio. Mbappe has managed an outstanding 4 goals in 7 appearances for France, giving him a .57 goal-to-game ratio, with Cristiano following with 7 goals in 17 appearances, giving him a .41 goal-to-game ratio, and Messi coming afterwards with 6 goals in 19 appearances, giving him a goal-to-game ratio of .32. Still only 21 years old, Mbappe is now 12 goals behind Klose's record 16 goals in the whole tournament. And with potentially going to 4 more World Cups, there is a high chance that Mbappe can tie and even extend this record, seeing as he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Not only being potentially able to break the record for most World Cup goals, Mbappe could guide France's youthful team to more World Cups, and even potentially catch up to Pele's record 3 World Cup titles. France had the joint second youngest World Cup squad team in 2018, with the average squad age being 26, and still managed to win. Most of these players will only get better when they reach their peak as they get older, giving France a very bright and promising future in the years to come, all while being spearheaded by this decade's best player, Kylian Mbappe. Now finishing off with both international club stats, we see that Cristiano Ronaldo had 36 goals in 182 appearances under the age of 21, while Messi had 50 goals in 138 appearances. And then there's Mbappe. Mbappe has 113 goals in 197 appearances. Having proven he could perform in the Champions League, as well as having international success with France, Mbappe has statistically shown that after all is said and done, he might after all have been the best footballer under the age of 21 that we have seen since Pele. On paper, he looks like the natural successor to Messi and Ronaldo's throne. But of course, it's important to note that stats aren't the only thing to consider when it comes to picking out the best player, even while picking out the best forwards. There's the eye test, probably the best way to judge an athlete as they compete within their sport based on your observation. This is why many players like a young Messi, a young Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and even non-forwards like Zidane and Maradona are considered some of the best. You look at these players and see everything they do on the pitch beyond just looking at a stat sheet, and make up your own decision based on this process. And the thing with Mbappe is that at his age, he passes the eye test, and he's got the stats to show why he's going to be the best for a long time to come. But let's take a look at the new generation of players that are primed to be stars of this decade. Let's try to see if there's maybe a player that could give Mbappe a run for his money as the next big thing. Now, tell me which players you can see as either winning the Ballon d'Or or as the best player of the decade. Quite a few. But if we're going to try to pick one player to be the best out of this list, well, let's try to do that. Almost every best player of each generation had something in common. What might that be? Maybe incredible vision, great finishing, or perhaps it was great dribbling. No, the thing they all had in common was that they were all attacking players. The sad reality is that defense and goalkeeping is always overlooked in football. Since its introduction in 1956, the Ballon d'Or has only had 4 defenders and goalkeepers win the award. So we can remove defenders no matter how creative they may be, and goalkeepers off the list. And with attacking players being recognized more, we can remove any defensive-minded midfielders, as well as midfielders that aren't attacking midfielders. So here's what remains, a list of phenomenal players, but among them, one stands out, Mbappe. He's accomplished more than anybody else on this list, even doing more at a younger age than almost all of these footballers here. In terms of potential though, it's important to note that Haaland leads the list besides Mbappe, with Haaland being the fastest player to score 10 goals in the Champions League, quickly making a name for himself, but of course this is just potential. And this is Haaland's first season playing Champions League football, as well as his first year playing in the top 5 European league. So we'll have to see how he does his second year to see if he can still perform as well as he did the season prior. I went over that in another video, but I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. But as it stands, it looks like there's no one that's going to be able to challenge Mbappe for that throne. He's got the resume, he's got the stats, he passes the eye test, he's got everything to be Messi and Ronaldo's successor. Every generation has a player with the potential of being the greatest player of all time. There are some that make a great case for themselves like Pele with his record 3 World Cups, Messi with his record 6 Ballon d'Ors and 6 European Golden Shoes, or Maradona, who single-handedly won the World Cup for Argentina. And in Mbappe's case, he still needs a lot to prove, including going to a better league with a higher reputation and competition. Many people use the fact that he plays in Ligue 1 against him, and in all fairness, they're right. A harder league will undoubtedly help Mbappe gain the acknowledgement of his quality and cement his legacy that he is creating, whether that may be as one of the greatest footballers in the history of the game, or even the greatest. Thanks for watching my YouTube video. I'll see you next time. Peace.